live from Well-Built Studios.
Dun, dun, dun.
We have a leather couch.
It is, I got to tell you, I'm feeling very conflicted right now.
Okay, talk to me
Can
about
I
the
tell you
conflict.
about that? Okay, all right. I feel in one way very, very listened to, because probably about 6 or 8 months ago, I said, can we get leather couches for the podcast?
Can we get a leather couch?
Yeah, and you got us a leather couch, which is awesome. So I feel really listened to. The conflict comes from like 4 months ago. I made a suggestion that we hug more often, and you're like, I don't want to hug. But then you get us a studio where we're sitting so close together, and so I feel listened to. But at the same time, I'm like, so do you want to hug or do you not want to hug? Because you're sitting awfully close to me.
So I'll clear it up.
Okay, clear it up. Thank you.
Please
clear the air.
I don't want to hug.
Okay, all right. All right. You're sending mixed messages, Chad. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying.
Fair enough.
Get a small little couch. Go ahead. Sorry.
I will work on the second order, sort of outputs from the decisions that I make.
Thank you.
That's the commitment I have.
That's my CEO right there. Just that long term thinking.
And I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Am I checking the boxes?
All right, you've checked the boxes.
If I killing it,
you're killing it right now. I'm no longer conflicted.
Excellent.
You've set clear boundaries, and I feel good about them. Thank you very much, Chad.
That was my goal, and I'm really deeply sorry.
Yes,
for any feelings that I may have given you.
Yes, that's okay. It's all right. I'll get over them. It's just another day in my life. A lot of feelings.
Just a whole lot of feelings. I was having a conversation earlier, Matt. I was talking to I was on a podcast and I was talking to the fella who was interviewing me, and I said, here's the thing. There are gonna be people who tell you, you can't offend me. I've got the thickest skin.
Yes.
Lay it on me. I can handle anything, that kind of stuff. And what I've found is they're lying.
Yeah.
And we're all quite emotional creatures.
Yeah.
And the difference is that the people who say that, they do a really good job of like clenching their teeth and being tough in front of you, but then like talking shit behind your back.
Yeah.
That's
right.
what they do.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So being an emotional creature and owning it is actually quite, you're saying like, I'm normal, and everybody else is like, not me.
Yeah, right.
That's what's really going on.
Totally.
So I applaud you, sir.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Well, I'll take it.
So what are we? How you doing, man?
I am doing very, very good. I was actually, as we were sitting down, maybe the listeners think I'm just making this up every time, but I was just sitting down and knew you were going to ask me that question. I was like, I'm so happy. Like things are so good, and we're making so much progress with the business, and you've given me so much opportunity and coaching and support, and it's just fun. So I think our clients are really happy. So all of that just feels really, really good.
It feels really, really good to make the impact that you sold.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, totally.
It's an interesting business hours, right? Because we're promising we're going to get you a result.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sizing up a business and making sure that we know that we can deliver said result. And the truth is there's quite a lot that's out of our hands.
Very true.
When it comes to delivering said result.
Yep.
Right. And so we have to adjust for a lot of, economic factors, employees departing that we didn't anticipate, opportunities that present themselves.
Yeah. Even people just, not following through or changing the plan without talking to us because they don't work for us.
Right.
It's their company. They can do whatever they want.
It's exactly.
We work for
by
them.
the way, we're opening an office and we're like, we still need to hit the financial plan.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And overall, to be able to look at the, I don't know, many clients at this point that we have and say, hey, each one of these is either very much on the right track or totally killing it right now.
Yeah.
It's a great spot to be.
Yeah. So, right. How the heck are you doing?
I'm doing well. I have been carrying a lot of added stress surrounding our growth and delivering on promises, internally and making sure that we are the company that I try really hard to make sure that we are. And I know everybody really tries hard to, but I take it to bed with me. You know what I mean? And What you know, and what I'll share with the audience is that we need, consultants. We have lots of opportunity, and we love more opportunity, but we also need to add awesome people like Matt and okay people like me to the staff, to help to manage what we're bringing in. And we've been very successful with hiring, but it's still not quite enough. So, and we're recruiting, and it seems like every day I'm talking to somebody that could potentially be, a team member down the line. But it's, as one could imagine, it's not an easy gig to fill.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have an immense amount of passion for helping people in the construction industry.
Yeah.
You've got to have a background that's applicable.
Yeah.
And you have to have enough executive presence to hang in front of an owner. And we'll teach you to consult, but they
got to believe that you're credible enough to listen to you.
Correct. Yeah. You've got to bring that part with you.
Yeah.
And so finding the person that has all that stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
I put my arm around you here.
No, I think that's too close to a hug, to be honest. No, put your arm around
more mixed messages.
Yeah, more mixed messages.
Gosh, I got to watch that.
Yeah, you got to, even if you yawn and you get too close to going like that. I'm going to be skeptical. Yeah. Let's watch a movie after.
Let's watch a movie. But thank you for checking in. Overall, quite well.
Good.
And I'm thinking a lot about, the great problems that you create with growth.
That, and that's been an interesting thing over the last probably, 3 months, 2 months in our business. And I'm sure you experience them even more, saliently, because, being the founder and CEO and all of that. But, it's been almost kind of fun and rewarding to run into growth challenges like our clients do, and feel a little bit more like, I see now. And it also helps a ton. I mean, one of the things that I find myself saying all of the time now, is that this happens. Like the solutions of today become the problems of tomorrow. So any solution that we put in today, like, you don't have to think about that as an all-time solution. And so when we do, a lot of times when we get into companies that are growing, they're like, oh my gosh, this feels broken, and this feels hard, and this feels uncomfortable, and this feels, and then you look at their revenue and what they were doing 2 years ago compared to what they're doing now and how many people you've added, and you're like, oh, it makes total sense that all of that feels uncomfortable and weird.
Right.
Like, it's actually good that it feels uncomfortable and weird. And we've got to do some dedicated work for the next 12, 18 months to make it stop feeling so ugly.
We had and I think you actually had a meeting about this last week with somebody, and I just had somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I am, the small contractor. I have really, really, really aggressive growth goals. I want to take this thing to the moon. Do you think you can help me to go to the moon? And I responded, I was like, there are so many things that I would need to understand if you can actually go to the moon. But what you definitely have is a growth mindset.
Yeah.
But we need to talk and then do a lot of exploration before I know whether I'm the right person to take you to the moon.
Yeah. Right.
Type of thing. Or side note, if you should ever go.
Right. It's a great point.
Because not everybody should go to the moon.
It's a great point.
There are lots of contractors that should target, going to Pittsburgh as opposed to the moon.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
St. Louis.
Yes. There you
would
go.
be a nice target.
Yes. But the moon, let's put that on the back burner.
Yeah. Maybe moon after we learn to crawl.
Yeah. Right.
And some of the people, it is awesome. Some of the people that you meet when who do have those big growth aspirations have a ton of potential. And they're a lot further along than you maybe anticipate. But there is a sort of expectation that I have based on, give me some stats about the business. Okay, got it. You give me the stats about the business, and I can kind of tell you the problems and why you've been able to create whatever success you've been able to create, and the likely problems you have at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Depending on how you've created that success. Yeah. Well, it has certainly been interesting to experience it, and in some ways it feels good. It's been very fulfilling, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all that stuff.
Yeah, same. I mean, growth stress is generally good stress. It's more stress about the future than it is about the immediate. It's more like we better solve X and Y, because to your point, like, our clients are happy, we're doing good. work and life are balancing ish, things are going pretty well,
Yeah.
but when you're like, oh, I'm pretty close right now to capacity, and we need to add awesome people to the staff, that awesome people demand does not change. Like, we can't be like, we just need a body.
Yeah.
Nor should you,
so
right? As the contractors that enjoy this podcast, we would tell you the exact same thing, right? Do not throw bodies at the problem.
Yep.
It's better to turn away work. And so what we're in the midst of doing is not turning away work, but delaying work and telling people, hey, we can't get started for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and stuff like that. And we're used to saying, hey, let me know.
Let's go.
You get us the approval, we'll probably get you on the calendar in 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's not how it is today. And I don't know that it'll ever be that way again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably good business practice to give our ops team a little bit more time,
right?
Because I'm used to bringing back a sale and be like, wait till you see this mess.
Yeah. You have 7 days. Your time starts now.
Yeah, exactly. And then the 24 clicker starts.
Yes. There's not enough time.
I love that show.
It's such a good show.
I absolutely love that show.
I could go, but yes.
You know what wasn't great?
What wasn't great?
The acting or the writing.
Oh, yeah.
But man, the story was fun. The story was fun.
Or the adherence to the 24-hour concept. It's like, it's just like proven things like Jack Bauer cannot fly to Los Angeles that fast from New York. I just know that he can't. Like, there's not a way.
You don't know. I found myself arguing with my wife on the couch in 2008.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
no,
you can do that.
Yeah.
They make Concords.
Yeah.
All right. What are we talking about today, Matt? What's the game plan?
So we got our normal rundown where first we're going to get into the meat here and talk about our topic of the day, which is developing a value proposition that wins. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're going to go after that and we're going to get into our debate for the day, XVY. And we're going to talk about whether an owner should share their succession plans or not, whether that's ESOP or profit sharing or future, sale of the business, M&A, whatever it is. We're going to talk about whether or not you should be talking about
I feel very, very moderately about my position on that.
And I feel just as extremely moderately as you do.
Well, then let's have an awkward, have a pillow fight about it.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, that's what I call that kind of debate.
Yes.
But it should be a fascinating discussion to just kind of talk about all sides of the issues. So first things first. Where are we going to start, Matt?
So I think that I actually would love, so let's start with talking about developing a value proposition that wins. And I think, for those that are listening and may not know that phrase, Chad, and even for those that do know, like, what is a value proposition? How does it play into the grand scheme of business strategy?
So this is what you stand for in the market, and it's a message about how you differentiate and what value you propose, right? What value you're suggesting you can deliver to the client. And for contractors, there is such an overwhelming amount of market force telling you that you are an apple and you are all apples and you are a price. And so the value proposition is the thing that you currently don't even think, many of you currently don't even think you have, if you've been so brainwashed by the construction buyers, be they owners or general contractors or other primes. And it is almost always something that you don't use, even if you do believe you have one. And where you would use a value proposition is in your marketing content, as well as in your sales and business development interactions. You would use your value proposition to catch someone's eye who is visiting your website, to inspire somebody to visit your website if they were looking at your social, to inspire somebody to want to schedule a meeting with you if they just met you at a networking event, and fundamentally to inspire them to choose you over other people for reasons other than price when it comes time to buy.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's interesting that what Chad is suggesting here is, I think, is that you're operating in a value-based world. And if you are looking at yourself and thinking that you're apples to apples, or you have your clients telling you that you are apples to apples, then you're operating in a cost-based world.
Yes.
Because if all things being equal, to the credit to buyers, whether developers, owners, general contractors, other primes, if everything else looks equal about the thing that I'm buying, price is actually a great differentiator.
Yeah.
If I truly think you are that way.
Yeah. Look, 10 yards of nylon rope is 10 yards of nylon rope.
Right.
And so, who has the cheapest 10 yards of nylon rope?
And I think it's interesting with the advent of programs like Building Connected, or the Blue Book of the past, and Construct Connect, and some of these other bidding softwares that are out there. I think one of the things that they've obviously been positive, because we talk to companies that are growing that are like, we just need more opportunities. So there is obviously positives to being able to see more opportunities.
Yeah, the problem is not the tech.
But well, and with that said, the tech has enabled buyers to easily add you to their bid list.
Correct.
Without figuring out if you're different, better, or anything, by simply clicking a button or adding an email.
So I call this the Amazonification of everything.
Oh, all right. Talk about that.
And as you know, I've started writing my second book, and it is all about business development, sales, winning without being low in construction. Working title is called Get Work. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Love it.
May end up changing that.
Yeah.
But this episode would be kind of like, remember when he came up with that dumb name and shared it with everybody?
Well, remember when he said he didn't want to hug more?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
kind of
like that.
Yeah.
People don't forget.
All right, Matt.
Keep going. Sweep it under the rug.
And I will.
All right. Thank you.
So, but the Amazonification of everything. Here's the deal. Buyers are in every sphere of life, have more power today because they have more access to information today, which is great. And one form of that information is the ability to invite 12 quote unquote qualified bidders to look at a given thing. And so we use our machine to go out and get bids, and then people magically respond. But when I say the problem isn't the technology, my point is that technology did not prevent you from picking up the phone. That technology did not, as the seller, that technology did not prevent you from picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, thanks for the invite. Can we talk? I don't know you." Did not keep you from doing that. Mm-hmm. And in fact, a different technology, the telephone, as well as email, can help you to advance your value proposition. But what it has, and I think you used a perfect word for it, Matt, is that it's enabled. It's enabled buyers to reach out to 20 people and ask them to bid. And it's also enabled and kind of normalized a level of laziness.
Yes.
From the selling community that's like, oh, we got invited to 14 things a day. We'll go after these 6 and throw out the other 8, and we'll just bid them, and then we'll bid them and we'll wait, and maybe we'll follow up. We're not going to follow up. Yeah. Right? My boss is going to tell me I have to follow up, but I'm not going to follow up.
Yes, total. Oh my gosh.
And this estimating department has a close rate of like 5%. Everybody's sad. The only time they win is when they're low, right? And often when they're low, they screwed up.
Yeah.
And they wonder why they make no money.
Yeah.
Right? This is the game. And it's the environment that people are trapped in. Mm-hmm. And so we have to break free from that trap. And we've got to find ways to highlight our value proposition. Mm. So I want to spend some time talking about what a value proposition is and isn't, and what are sort of the elements of a value proposition for the audience. But I wonder if you would sort of like if I said to you, look, nailing your value proposition matters. It's great, but it's like 10% of the game. 90% of the game is breaking bad habits.
Okay.
Of not putting yourself in a position
yes
to even share a value proposition.
Yes, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like what you're going to say about yourself matters. And when the spotlight's on you and right, and your heart's thumping, you got an opportunity to say something that catches. And I want to talk about how to do that. We will by the time we finish this topic. But Matt, if 90% of it was just doing the right shit, regardless of what you say, what rules would you give from business development through the sales process when it comes to getting an opportunity to share your value proposition?
So are you saying like, how do you get yourself in the position to be able to share a value proposition?
Yep. 90% of it's just sharing it somehow. Yeah. Right. 90% of it's just activity.
Yeah.
10% of it's what you actually say, but 90% of it is that you say it.
Yeah.
So what rules would you provide the audience, or what ideas do you have? And I'll brainstorm with you. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you know, what rules would you give if I said, hey, Matt, this client needs to get in way more situations where they are sharing their value proposition.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them, or what rules would you give them to follow?
First thing is define your ideal project profile and define your ideal client profile.
What am I going to do with those two data points? I know what my ideal project looks like, and I know who I want to do it for. Now what?
Now you can actually go out and figure out who builds that stuff or acts that way, and narrow down your list of who you should actually be doing business with. So really the first step is don't bid to everyone. And the rule that you always say that, you know, this is totally a Chad Prinky, you know, ism, but never bid to strangers. You know, that's gotta,
I have it written right here.
Yeah. You've got to, I bet you like, you've got to internalize that belief system. So yeah, so that's part of it. And then, I mean, you know, activity, like I think one of the hard things that people struggle with setting meetings and business development and all of that is, I think a lot of us in construction are like operations based and therefore task based. And so you can't, hey, go build a relationship with Whiting Turner. Could you just put that on your list? Just go build a relationship with Whiting Turner, put that on your list. It doesn't really work like that. It's a process of planting seeds, watering, getting to know people, lunches, phone calls. There's stuff that you have to throw out because it was a bad meeting, right? Because it just didn't work out and you drove somewhere you shouldn't have. And you've got to figure out a way to measure that in a way that makes you feel good about it. That you are not looking at everything and saying, if we don't make a sale out of this, it was a waste of time. But instead that by doing the thing, by trying to get the meeting and failing, I succeeded because because I crossed another name off the list that we don't want to do business with, or I got us another opportunities to get another meeting with somebody else.
I think that's exactly right. Great stuff. One of the other rules that or maybe it's a mentality, but that
philosophy,
philosophy, good term, that I do not have the pre-construction and estimating resources to give away bids without something in return. And that thing needs to be a legit shot to win the opportunity. And one of the biggest game changers that you can apply is that after you bid a job, you get a chance to sit down and review your bid, your scope, and your value proposition with your buyer.
Yeah, it's great.
So you're saying, hey, figure out what projects you want, who has them, create specific lists of these people, put yourself out there and go after these people.
Exactly.
Network, make calls, send emails, send LinkedIn messages, put yourself out there and you know, engage with the market.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is when opportunity, and you're saying when opportunities come in, if it's with somebody that you don't know, don't just bid it. What would you do?
Call them.
Pick up the phone and get to know them, right? You get an opportunity, it fits your ideal project profile, but you don't know this client. Use that as an opportunity, as the impetus to pick up the phone and say, hey, we don't know each other. You seem like a nice enough dude, but I have no idea if I want to work with you.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you want to work with me. And so I could bid this as an exercise, but my chances of winning it are 0, right? And my interest in winning it is up for question because I don't know. You could be a douche.
Yep.
Right? I don't know.
Yes.
So let's get together and figure out if we're a good fit to work together. If we are a good fit to work together, I'm totally going to pursue this project or other future projects if we can't meet in time. Right? And then
that's the playbook right there.
When we bid the job, have an expectation that our pre-construction estimating resources are far too limited to justify just bidding a job and hoping that we make it low.
Yeah.
But that if I'm going to spend thousands of dollars in pursuit, I need 30 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
And if you do those things, I'm going to tell you value proposition in the business development, value proposition in the pre-bid call, value proposition in the post-bid review.
It's great. It's great. It's great. And it becomes so fun to test what resonates with people from a value proposition perspective too. With all of those opportunities, you get to say it so many times, and you can actually see when you say something that people's eyes light up to and that it resonates. And you better be paying attention, because you'll say, write that down. That should be, that's got to go into my toolbox of business development, sayings and phrases and how we're positioning ourselves.
Beautiful. All right, let's talk about what consists. Right.
Awesome.
What is a value proposition made of? How do you build your value proposition? Yeah. So I'm going to lay out some high level points, and then Matt, please feel free to fill in blanks and add and get creative with what I share. But I think the first thing that companies need to do as they build out their value proposition is they got to figure out what promise they're making to the market.
Yeah.
What is our promise? What are we committed to?
Often called a brand promise, if anybody's ever heard that phrase. Yep.
And in every phase of my business, in pre-construction, what's my brand promise? During construction, what's my brand promise? To close out, what's my brand promise? Mm-hmm. What's my service brand promise? My finance brand promise? My HR brand promise? Like all those types of things. Mm-hmm. That you got to figure out, what are you committed to promising to the market, and what is your whole team willing to put their butts on the line and say, I'm willing to say I'm in trouble if I don't deliver on that brand promise. Mm-hmm. Once you've got your brand promise identified, and it doesn't have to be big and crazy. I mean, it can be like 10 things, these are the things that we're going to promise, 4 things, but what the brand promise should also be aimed at is not at table stakes. And what I mean by that is not at the bare minimum. Like, the reason that it can be short is we're taking for granted certain things. Mm-hmm. Right. So your brand promise can't be like, we're going to bid your job on time. Mm-hmm. That's table stakes, man. Like that's
right.
I agreed. That better be a part of your brand promise. What else is we're going to run a safe project. Well, what's the promise? What are you doing that's different from what other people are doing?
Yep.
To promise that.
Yep.
Right. Yep. Anyway, so you got your brand promise. Anything you want to add to that?
There's a pizza place that opened near my house, and it's apparently, I think it's called Benny's or something like that, in the Columbia Mall in Maryland, if anybody knows it. And on their logo, it says 3 things. It says authentic, New York style, hand tossed. And those are their 3 brand promises.
Yeah.
And just to tie the whole idea together, the reason why those are brand promises to what Chad's saying is their whole business has to be built around delivering authentic, NY style, hand tossed pizza. Every single thing that they do has to be in service to those promises.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's an inconsistent experience from what they're proposing versus what they're delivering.
Yep.
And so as you consider that brand promise, just know that whatever those 1 to 10 or whatever of them are, that you'll need to form your business or department around them so that you can consistently deliver them over and over again.
And when a customer comes in and says, "Hey, can I have a deep dish?" It's just as important that they know that the answer to that's no. It's not what we do.
Exactly.
It's not what we do.
Exactly.
And that can be really, really, really difficult for contractors, because somebody comes in and they say, "Will you do X?" And it's not really what you're supposed to be doing. And you're like, "Well, we could use the work." And you end up agreeing to something that ultimately makes you look like a fool.
Yep.
Because you're doing a job that you have no business doing.
Yep.
So you got a brand promise. The next thing, building on that brand promise, is to do an exploration of what solutions to what problems that brand promise delivers. Because here's the fundamental, mindset. People don't care about your company, they care about theirs. They don't care about you, they care about themselves. And if all you do is walk around talking about you, your value proposition misses the mark. We need to be talking about our client in our value proposition. So the way to do this is to ask yourself, okay, so we have this awesome element of our brand promise. Let's say, that we have a 200 point walkthrough inspection that keeps our client from minimizes punch list or something along those lines, right? You've got to put it into their terms, which is you've got a punch list. On your projects that you're currently running, you've got punch list, and punch list is a huge pain in the ass, and it takes forever to get full occupancy of your site because you're messing around with punch list. Am I right? That is how you start to position your value proposition. So it's kind of counter to what you would imagine. It's not a speech. It's more questions. It's more of a dialogue.
Yeah.
To deliver your value proposition.
Yeah. And you'll have multiple value propositions depending on what the dialogue reveals.
And what I'm doing is a needs assessment and identifying what needs they have and which promises, which elements of my value prop I'm going to drive home in that environment. Once I've got confirmation that they have issue, they have fear, they have problem, right? Whatever it is, then I can tell a solution story. And my solution story could be something like, so 14 years ago, we received client feedback that our punch list was too long. And that they would love to work with us again for every other reason, but that it took us forever to get off their job. And we took that feedback extremely seriously. And over the past 14 years, we have honed a punch list prevention system. And our promise to you is that we will run this system, and statistically, here's our punch list outcome. Right? So now I've told a solution story. And then if you really want to hammer it home, which I know you do, you need proof points, testimonials, case studies, very specific things that eliminate that client concern. Can they do this? And that, folks, is a value proposition.
Yeah.
It's your brand promise. It's identification of needs, right? It's a needs assessment. It's solution stories and proof points. And that is something you can walk people through on your website. That is something you can create social media content to illustrate. That is right. And you can't get the two-way dialogue in those environments, and I'll grant you that. But when you're talking with individuals, you can go with the high likelihood, the high probability issues that your brand promise solves, and then hammer home your value proposition with solution stories and proof points.
Yeah, it's great. And I really think the main thing I want to touch on there is just can't stress the importance of the needs assessment step that Chad is advising, because your value proposition, your let's say it's like your A team value proposition, one that's worked plenty of times and you feel really good about, and it really makes you better and different. Like, for example, maybe you have a design assist department and you've got a full-time BIM resource, and you have a detailing team, and you're able to do shop drawings faster, and you can get fabrication done faster, and all these kinds of things. And that really is a differentiator in most instances.
Sure.
It really is. And it's possible for you to go talk to a client, a prospect who has a contractor that is providing those exact services to them.
That's right.
And so while you could be providing better logistics planning and manpower resources and safety to this client, you go in saying, I'm ready to talk about my value proposition of delivering design assist services, during the pre-construction phase. You go in and do that, and the prospect thinks, they were fine, but construction, construction 1, 2, 3 down the road does the same thing. So I guess it's nice that we met them, but there's not
Apples to apples.
Apples to apples. When meanwhile, if you would have talked to them and they said, yeah, design assist actually not a problem. What we've had trouble with is logistics planning on site. We've had trouble with manpower resources, and we actually had some safety issues. And now you're saying in your value proposition, got it. So we do have this. We do fulfill the need of the design assist department that you've loved to know.
Yeah, it's important that they know this information.
Exactly. Yeah. And here's what we do when it comes to manpower. Here's our solution story when it comes to logistics planning, et cetera, et cetera. Ultimately, so that they can see why you are different and better than your competition.
And that those terms, different and better, are the key. Now, listen, we've talked about this many times, but I'll reiterate: construction is a beautiful, beautiful industry in that it is an account-based project sale. That I'm gonna, it's not like I got to close this deal once and then I got it forever. I've got to close it over and over and over again. And I say that's a beautiful thing because being better, demonstrating that value proposition, living your brand promise, and fulfilling the client expectation seals the deal. And it becomes easier. And the next time that you have to sell to that client, it's, in the bag, right? If you've done all the things. So but the hard part is breaking in.
Yep.
And a lot of contractors right now are recognizing for one reason or another that they need to get some new clients. And what I'm telling you is it is so easy to get new opportunities to bid. That is not the mission. Your mission is to find new accounts that can buy your value proposition before you ever pursue a project.
I love that.
Hope this is helpful.
Yeah.
Love to hear other people's feedback and additions to it. There's certainly many volumes written on this concept.
Yeah.
What I'm sharing with you is the well-built way. It's how we do it.
Well, and along that line of thinking, would you mind if I shared with the audience what I would put as like our A+ value proposition out in the market?
100%, go for it.
So in case this is useful as an example, when somebody asks me what we do, the first thing I say, the first part of our value proposition is, our mission is to help drive positive change in the construction industry. And because that's our mission, there's a bunch of different things that we do. With that said, the core of what we do is that we deliver bottom line results and employee happiness and engagement results to contractors, whether subs or GCs, who are usually dealing with problems like wanting their people to be happier than they are and feeling like they could be.
Employee turnover, right?
Working hard and not feeling like there's enough profit left over at the end of the day.
Yep.
Looking at the future and wanting to consider how to exit the business, but not sure how to do it, and many, many more. And we do that by being their fractional chief strategy officer and advising them on their strategy and helping them to go execute it. And I find that package of what we stand for, of we exist to help drive positive change, combined with showing them what we do and how we do it and who we do it for, is like the sweet sauce that all comes together.
To me, the key thing about that whole, which great job, by the way, that was excellent. But the key thing about the whole message were the problems that we solve. It's important that the client understands who you are and what you do and who you do it for, certainly. But remember, they only care about themselves. They don't care about you. So if you skip that part and all you do is talk about being a chief strategy officer, right, and solving, being this awesome partner for our clients, but you skip the problems we solve, you haven't engaged the part of their brain that helps you to understand, is there a need here?
Right.
And once you do that bit, to me, when I apply, mine sounds weirdly identical. But when I apply our value proposition, it's always followed with questions. I follow it with questions, and I'm like, does any of that? So, would you have any questions about that? Does any of that sound relevant?
Yeah, great point.
Or any of those issues that you guys even face in your business, or what are the biggest challenges in yours? Like, I don't know if that's even relevant.
Yeah, I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yes.
Contractors, guys, your buyers absolutely need to know why you are different and better overall on this project. In this month, they absolutely have to know. And 90% of it is just putting yourself in a position to share it.
Yep.
We've just given you a formula that you can use to replicate. Hopefully we get some success stories coming back, and we'll use them as proof points.
Yeah, exactly.
Proof points, baby. All right, let's fight.
Cool. Let's do it.
So one of the things that Matt and I were talking about coming into today, when we get into our XVY section, and any listener of multiple episodes will know that we agree way more than we disagree on this stuff. But the reason that we pick this format is to thoroughly explore all sides and not just share our personal opinions.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So we always talk about like who's going to take what in advance.
Yes.
And the other person's like, and like, it's because it's almost never black and white.
Mm-hmm.
There's always rightness on both sides. But I'd like, for the sake of entertainment, Matt, to really hold your opinions hard.
You got it.
Even though internally it's a bit of a pillow fight.
Yep. No, you got it. I do think it's important to.
All right. Should owners share their exit plans with their people?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
I don't really understand how they could not. So I'm interested to hear how you're going to position it the other way, actually.
Oh, I'm going to go hard.
Yeah. All right. Good. But no, I really do believe that if you want to get the rest of your team on the boat with you and get to where you want to get to, sharing your vision for what the future looks like and how they can participate in the financial success and potentially contribute to creating more financial success really is, I don't see a better way of possibly doing it.
So you're saying you want owners to get in front of their whole companies and say, hey guys, I'm planning to sell this sucker to private equity in 4 years and get on the train?
Yeah, I love this. I love it. So I would answer this question the same way I would answer it if somebody was asking me, so you want me to get in front of my foreman and tell them, that I make $2 million every year, with like sharing all the numbers and everything in the business. There's absolutely an education component that comes to this.
Okay.
And so educating your highest levels of your team first about what these things mean, because I think that's the biggest danger, is like what bringing in M&A means for the company, or what an ESOP means for the company, that without knowledge of that, those things are scary.
Yeah.
And so start with your executive team, start with your top leaders, get them on board with the direction that you're heading. And then absolutely, I think it's possible that you could bring that down to the lower levels in your organization.
All right. Got it. Any fear about how people are going to react?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And depending on how concrete that plan is, I think that's one thing that you've got to be really careful about, is that the conviction with which you convey the succession plan should be totally related to how concrete the plan is for you. So if you're balancing a couple of options, then make sure they know that you're balancing a couple of options. But by the time that you've made a decision on the direction, I think that you're safe to have those conversations. And if there are people that are not interested in that direction, then they might not be the right fit for what you're trying to do anyway.
All right. You're crazy.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
This is nuts.
You can't tell people the plan for the long-term picture of the business.
People have no idea. Like, you talk about an epic waste of time. I'm going to educate my people on exits and tell them like how businesses are valued and what happens in a M&A transaction, or what happens in succession, like that kind of. My people are building stuff. They are keeping customers happy. And I don't need them wasting their brain power or getting all in a tizzy and wasting my time with questions about what we're going to do with the business. So no, keep it to yourself. First off, Matt, most owners don't know what they want to do. They don't know what the game plan is. And it's fluid. The game plan changes. They get more information. They, that the kid that they didn't think was going to get into the business wants to get into the business all of a sudden. There's, there are a lot of variables that change over the course of an owner's lifetime. And they might start the business thinking they want to do one thing and halfway through discover that they want to do another thing. And if they would have just left well enough alone and kept all that stuff private, they wouldn't have any blowback or any weird conversations that they have to have with entitled ass employees who think they have a right to know what the plan is with the business. Screw that.
So then same question. Do you fear those people when you announce that, hey, we're selling the company, that they're going to be like, well, what the fuck was this for the last?
Greatly.
That's the fear, right?
That is the fear.
Yeah.
I mean, because look, very few exits are gonna go smoothly or at all if the core of your team leaves.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
God damn it, you're winning. You're winning. Oh, I hate when you win. I'm going to stay with no for a little bit longer. And I am going to just plead the fifth on that because you have a very good point.
Yeah.
Look, here's what I know is that when you start talking about this stuff, it is over most people's heads.
Yeah.
Almost everybody's heads. That educating them in detail about what's going on en masse seems wasteful. It's just not necessary. And that there, because of the fluid nature of most owners' decisions with their exit plan, with their succession plan or whatever, right? Their exit plan, because of the fluidness or the fluidity of that situation, anything that you say is viewed as a promise. And
that is a good point.
Breaking promises causes people to get pissed and look for a new job. And again, if they just didn't know, we wouldn't have that issue.
Yeah.
If they didn't know the gyrations that we were going through in our minds as owners, they wouldn't, those people wouldn't be huffing and puffing and upset and ready to quit.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I do think that trust plays a tremendous role in here because I've definitely, I could imagine a business owner that people trust that says, hey, be flexible with me, but here's the plan, and people being totally receptive to that. I could also imagine a business owner that doesn't consistently tell the truth, so people don't trust them. And when they say, be flexible with me, what people are thinking is, roll my eyes, you're going to figure out the way to make this the best for you and the worst for me.
Right.
And so I would say that while I would still urge you and I would still advise you to communicate that plan to your team before you do, I would say, but you got to do a lot of trust building, a lot of apologizing, and a lot of mistake overcoming before you can even get to that place.
Awesome. All right. So can I fall off my position and just tell you how I really feel?
Yeah.
I think you're right about a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think you're right about a lot of it. I particularly believe that the inner circle needs to be in the loop. And that if you're wondering what the loop is that you want to bring them into because you don't know, honesty is an okay thing. Hey, I'm not exactly sure how I want out of this business, but here's the thing. Your people are your senior people, your executive people. They're wondering what's in their future.
Yes.
And if you don't communicate that, they will be telling themselves stories about what you might be doing in the future.
Right.
And a lot of those stories can be a whole hell of a lot worse or scarier than the truth.
Right.
And it's important to control the narrative.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think, on my end of it, I definitely don't think it makes sense to announce anything company-wide until it's imminent.
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you draw that line? Like you said, the inner circle, is that the executive team? Is that the leadership team? Where do you?
Depends on the size of the organization. I would call it the people who are participating in how about this? Your profit center leads. Your profit center leads plus your key execs otherwise, like your CFO, maybe a CHRO or a VP of HR or something along those lines. Maybe a vice president of business development or something along those, it depends, that senior leadership team, but it's that circle of people who I need to be bought in to the path forward, whether that's I'm going to hand the business to my daughter or that is I'm looking for a third party exit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. And it's almost stepping out of the XVY and into reality.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with, I'm trying to decide whether or not I would want to say to my people, like, and don't mention this to anybody, by the way, and hold off on saying that for a while. And I think that there can be appropriate timing and all that kind of stuff based on what's going on in the business.
I know how it feels. I'm with you. I know how it feels. I don't like secrets.
Yeah, right.
I just don't think they're great.
Yeah.
Hey, it's business, and not everything's for public consumption.
Right.
That's true.
I think that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I until things are imminent,
and
locked in, I don't want to communicate that beyond my inner circle.
Yeah. No, I like it. Yeah, and just a vision that's in your head. People can't help you go reach it.
That's right. That's so right.
And so
that's so right.
And so that can be a hard thing to overcome. And I think it's really helpful just to consider like where you want to be individually. Obviously I've never been an owner, but just talking to a lot of them, just where you want to be as an owner in 10 years is a really helpful exercise to figure out what you would need to do to transition your business. And then it also is a really interesting point, although we're not talking about it in this way right now, but it then informs your strategy today so much more clearly.
Yeah.
Like when you come back to value proposition and brand promise, like it'll be easier for you to identify what those things need to be if you know what you want to do with the business when you exit.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Moral of that story is my argument on like, hey, you don't know, owners don't know, and things are fluid.
Yeah.
What Matt's saying is, figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out, bud.
Yeah, totally.
You got to get that sorted out. The faster you get it sorted out, even if it's, we could go lane A or lane B.
It'll be invigorating for you too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. What you reading, bud?
Oh man. If anybody from Wellbuilt listens to this, they're going to make fun of me, but we do our book club. And I didn't read the last book of book club.
Me neither.
Yeah. We're the bad boys of Wellbuilt. Apparently we're the only two that didn't read it. Nicole didn't read it either, but she admitted it and she got a good chat GPT summary. So, kind of counts.
Sounds like Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it counts. It plays. And so anyway, I'm finally reading the Wellbuilt Book Club book, which is called Think Like a Horse by Grant Gallagher or something like that. And I have really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
It actually, it helped me to come through some ideas on leadership, but it also helped me to put words to something that I think I've known about myself, which is he says at the beginning that this is a philosophy, not a methodology or something like that. I forget if those are the exact words. He definitely said philosophy, but either way, like it's not a how-to guide. It's more like this is why you should act this way. And it's all about how it's this guy who's a ranch owner who's figured out these lessons about leadership by raising horses, like breaking horses, but he doesn't break horses by whipping them and tying them up and all that stuff. He does the opposite. He works with the horses. And it's been this profound thing where he's had Fortune 500 executives come into his ranch to see him do this with horses and realizing how they can do the same with their people.
Wow.
And but I found that really helpful because this is the first time I'm saying this out loud. I am writing my first book here for Wellbuilt.
Hey, let's go.
It's going to be called working title is Building Balance, and be about building top-notch culture in a construction company. And there have been parts of me that have been thinking, how do you make this a how-to guide? And now my brain is wondering, how is this a philosophy, and potentially where does the how-to part fit in, but how does the philosophy of how to treat people really reign supreme? So anyway, that's been a really fun like light bulb for me as I embark on this writing journey.
It is with the work that we do, it is always important to balance intention
or
philosophy with specific steps. If you give people specific steps without the clarity on philosophy and the full buy-in on that, those steps aren't going to be fully applicable to every situation.
Right.
And they'll get lost.
Yeah.
If they understand the intention and the philosophy behind it, and you give them the steps as an example, that's a really helpful thing.
Yeah. I think that's well said. So yeah, great book. Highly recommended. I think it's a good example, and I think it's good for construction folks too, because it's written by a ranch owner in Wyoming that's a freaking blue collar dude that's like kind of writes it like, hey, I'm just as surprised as you are that all this applies to leadership,
cool.
you know? So it's good. What are you reading?
I'm still reading about the Crusades, Matt.
Still about the Crusades, huh? Crusades still going on?
Oh, they don't stop. I can tell you that.
Are they crusading still?
They are forever crusading. I'm at like 1155 AD now, and they're just mounting another crusade. Okay.
You just can't stop.
It's a lot of crusading. The book is by Thomas Asborough, and it's called Crusades, the definitive guide or the authoritative guide.
I think you said authoritative, which made me giggle earlier.
Yeah,
it's British. Like about all the Crusades. This is the
I am the authority.
Yes.
And what I've recently learned, Matt, and this is kind of interesting, is that essentially, so post Crusade 1, the Latins or the Franks have conquered a good piece of territory, and so predictably and like embarrassingly immediately start treating it like France. They're like, you're the Lord, you know, and they're like making decisions, and they're like giving titles, and all these, you know, ladies in waiting show up, and it's like this such a tenuous piece of ground they've had for like 4 years, and they're like, oh, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm whatever name, Michael,
the Duke of
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm the of Antioch.
Yeah, right.
And you're like,
right.
hold on,
yeah,
man.
right.
Like that's your ancestral. Like it's very, very interesting how quickly they do that, and the whole zone is called Outremer, and they name it. They're like, this is Outremer, and we will expand Outremer.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and but the Muslims are like, nuh-uh. And
anti-crusades,
and while we're like donning wigs, right, while on one hand the Franks are donning wigs, on the other hand the Muslims are like, we're gonna finally unite a little bit and take you down.
Wow.
And so we're at the end of an era right now in Outremer.
So this is pre-Crusade 2, post-Crusade 1, pre-Crusade 2.
It's about to get hot.
Oh wow!
It's about to get
another
hot.
crusade.
We're
baby.
going deep.
Now let me ask you this: are the Crusades still going on in 2025? We're done with Crusades now.
Arguable.
Yeah, got it.
Arguable.
The history books of the future will tell us.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I can make a case.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Okay, it's for a different podcast.
Yeah, but it's not Outremer.
Yeah, that's for certain.
It was a very interesting time.
Wow.
By the way, I did not look up how to say that, and if I'm wrong, it's very embarrassing.
It sounded really good.
It's spelled Outremer,
and that's so funny. That is something I immediately was like, Chad nailed that. And you're so confident when you say things. Sometimes it's funny to be let into your brain. It's funny to be let into your brain when you're like, I said it like that.
I just said it like that. I went with it. It was like, it's spelled Outremer.
Yeah.
I was like, that's probably not Outremer.
Boy, would that have been embarrassing.
So I've been reading it Outremer.
Yeah.
I was like, I should not call it Outremer on the show.
Outremer. All right. Sounds kind of fun.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds very French.
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun today.
It always is.
I can't wait for the next one. Guys, be sure to check us out. Wellbuiltconsulting.com. Support the website. Spread the word. And if there's anything you hope we talk about, send it over.
Thanks, guys.